Welcome, everybody, back to Veil of Sound, Video Interview Sunday. And now we're talking with a band, but it's not called Sunday, not Monday, but wait, see you next Tuesday. So Drew Slavic, the guitar player and one of the masterminds behind See You Next Tuesday, is with me. Drew, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, by the way. This is really cool. I feel honored just in general. Like it's amazing to be part of so many of these. And so, I mean, thank you for doing this, man. I feel very honored.
You're welcome. First question always, what is the band merch or shirt, or I hope it's not going to be pants, the band merch of the day that you're wearing?
Oh shoot. I don't have any merch on. Here's the thing. I read your questionnaire. Is this cheating? Should I not say this out loud?
Oh, people can know that we send out the questionnaires before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I read it ahead of time and it said I can self-promote.
Yes, of course.
So I thought, yeah, because you're in Germany. In Europe, we have Death Wish Europe exclusive variant of our record. So I have this is my personal copy of it. And I wanted to show this off for all your fans. This is something that's available in all of Europe. Yeah. So Death Wish Europe has this
baby pink.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the yellow is translucent too.
Ooh. And in the black, so I can see myself.
Yeah, the black is a standard black. You got a highlighter yellow translucent, and then the super opaque, like baby pink.
Very nice.
So yeah, those are that's what I chose to show off as far as,
no problem. Very nice. So everybody get this at Death Wish Europe. I think in Germany they sell through Kings Road merch. And if you can't find it online anywhere, visit your record dealer and get it. I also always plug something. I know that it's hard to see. It's basically not even possible to see because
I was gonna say, is that like navy blue on black?
No, it's black on black actually.
Oh, good.
A shirt that I got from a friend of mine. Maybe the best screen printer that we have in Europe, not in Germany, but in Europe. Le Septième Oeil from France. So a little shout out to my friend Lionel. Folks, if you ever wonder who does these wonderful Debe Murmorti production special limited editions, that's always Lionel, and he always comes up with stuff that is hard to believe. So give him a little love, go to Debe Murmorti, look for the special editions. That's the good stuff.
That's awesome. So,
Drew, where are we catching you right now? I know it's Michigan, but Michigan is still a big state. Where are you?
So I'm in a little town called Bay City, Michigan, which like we do the whole mitten thing. If anybody's looked on a map, Michigan looks like a mitten. So like Detroit is like kind of here-ish, and I'm about here. So there's a big bay right here. I'm right on a beach and stuff. Actually, the cover art for our record, the cover girl, we shot those photos in the state park here in Bay City.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
So one thing that that always confuses me with your band name is the orthography. So let's get this straight. Is it meant to be written as one long word, as 4 words, or however you want to do it? Is it all together with capital initials, with only a capital S? How shall we write See You Next Tuesday?
Yeah, in like publication and stuff, we prefer 4 words, all first letter capitalized. So SEEYOU.
Yeah. All capitalized.
Tuesday.
Okay.
No, just the first letters.
So the initial.
Yeah, so okay. Capital S E E. Capital
N, I get it. Okay, so that's good to know.
So 4 separate words, not crunched together.
Yeah,
that's like CU space cowboy does that. No, we put the spaces in.
So let's.
But then, like, if you want to just shorten us, we prefer cunts. So just call us cunt.
No, I cannot call you cunts because we're in an LA band with that name. It doesn't work. You know, it's like, but I like the way that you just said that. You know, like SEEU next Tuesday. Yeah, it reminds me a lot about the question like, is it boy sets fire or is it boy sets fire?
Yeah,
But let's get to the new
four
record.
separate words.
Yeah, let's get to the new record.
Yeah, sure. Let's
Distractions. You know, how many distractions were there for you as a band between the last release and this one?
Well, I mean, for me, it was one big one. Well, it was one thing that I had to find a distraction from, I guess you could say. And that's kind of how this whole record came about. I don't know how much you want me to delve into the proper details, but in a nutshell, in October of 2020, I said goodbye to alcohol, and I have not had a drink of alcohol since October 19th, so I'm a little over
Very good
30
for you.
months. Yeah. And I'm a mailman. And during COVID, I worked a lot, like a lot, like 70 hours a week. That's not even a joke.
Okay.
And yeah, between like realization of alcoholism coupled with overworked, coupled with, trying to hold a marriage and a family together and all that stuff. You know, I was sober for a few months coming into December of 2020, and my wife said, get a guitar and get yourself something nice. You deserve it. You've worked a ton. And I bought myself a new guitar and just kind of started going for it, like experimenting tones and stuff like that. So ultimately, like, just a potential studio project, not necessarily See You Next Tuesday, but just something that instead of being like, hey, let's go out to the bar and grab some drinks or go to the liquor store and sit down and watch a movie, I'm gonna go into the studio and I'm gonna record guitar tones and play around with drum tones and mess around with some synthesizers and just see what happens. And then a few months go by. It was actually January of 21, towards the end of January 21, and I wrote "What a Funny Girl You Used to Be," and that's kind of when it was like, okay, that's I'm getting somewhere, So, like I said, I don't know how much you want me to go onto that tangent right off the get go, but
no, that's all good.
Yeah.
So, but still, that doesn't. That doesn't completely explain the more than 10-year gap between those releases.
Yeah. Honestly, we disbanded back in like 2009, early 2010. And it just is one of those things where we're over it. We had a few bad luck things happen. We got some issues at the Canadian border, and Intervals wasn't really as well received. We were trying our hardest to get on more metal tours to try to go with the more grindy sound that we produced with Intervals, or at least that we felt we produced with Intervals. But the tours we kept getting on were different stuff, more hardcore stuff. I don't know, and I'm not saying that that's the reason why we didn't do well. But again, the record wasn't as well received. Yada yada yada. We just were like, let's take a break. So a break just became a hiatus. It's like we were just gonna call it for a little bit. Honestly, like the ticking clock at the end of Intervals, that was meant to lead into something. It just never came to fruition. Like everybody's lives just kind of started. And we all just started jobs and stuff. And then, back in 2015, we got an offer to do a festival here in Michigan. And a bunch of really rad bands were on it and stuff, and we weren't really doing too much, and said, why not? We did a couple shows, nothing serious. We didn't take it serious. 2016, we did another show. 2018, we did another couple shows. Again, nothing too crazy, but we had some fun doing it and blah 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 blah. And then, this time, that window there from like 2015 up into 2020, I had started drinking again.
Yeah.
Not that I was like reckless, but like earlier in my life, like my teens, I got into stuff. Alcohol was namely one of them. And during my 20s, I found sobriety and started Phoenix Tuesday. So it was kind of like my, not necessarily distraction at the end, more like I had quit for years, and Phoenix Tuesday was my way of going out and doing something in the public again without feeling like I needed to drink. So when we did those other shows, 2015, 2018 stuff, I'd been drinking. Not like I was, like I said, I wasn't reckless, but I wasn't taking anything serious. You know, and it wasn't until COVID happened where like it just got out of control. You know, I became like the person that didn't stop drinking until they blacked out for, 7 months in a row. It wasn't until then that I took it serious, that I found my sobriety. And as weird as it is, this band is now twice given me a good reason to move on. You know what I mean? And honestly, I will say this too. I owe a lot of this to my wife. She's a strong woman, and her and I both have our vices. We're kind of like the perfect pair of demons. You know what I mean? And she was actually the one that found the strength back in October and sought help, which led me to fucking get my shit together. You know what I mean?
No, that's awesome, because I think like a lot of people always, we all say we need strong people at our side, and then I have a feeling as if a lot of people proclaim that but don't really want it. And in your case, it sounds as if your wife is the stronghold, right? And that is the way it's supposed to be.
We're each other's strengths, though. And that's how a partnership should be. I feel that way with my band members too. It's like I get up on stage and I have to trust these
your
dudes.
Band members are your wife?
No. Yeah. I'm not married to my band members. They're nowhere near as cute as my but like I have to trust that they're gonna, perform the same level I do and stuff. But I was about to say that, like honestly, I think it's more strength in a human being to say you need help and to seek
definitely
help.
Definitely.
Like totally it takes more strength to do that than to just do something on your own, because if you do it on your own, the reliability of relapse is so much higher. I hate to
totally agree with that.
True. Sometimes things are bigger than you. That's it. That is what it is.
So we started talking about distractions, and when people listen to the record, I guess for a lot of people, especially for the uninitiated listener, it sounds like a lot of chaos on the record. But I think that, yes, chaos, but ordered in a very good way. And how much time did it take to come up with these compositions?
Yeah, forever. I'm the slowest writer. So I openly said that I started writing right around December of 2020, and I finished, like I handed over the masters to Josh Schroeder, who did like the Lorna Shore and Plea for Purging. Actually, he recorded our This Was a Tragedy EP, was his first recording ever, so full circle story there. I handed those over to him in June 1st of 2022. So it took me just shy two full years to write the record. So I mean, it was a process. But here's the thing: is it's like I got a life, like
of course
I have a wife, I got kids, I was a mailman. But the biggest thing I would say is like my job was a lot of help for me. I wrote in my studio at home. And I was able to write songs in sections, or like I would record ideas and I'd listen to them all day. And then I'd listen to all the new records that come out, My Spotify Wrapped from like 2021 said I listened to for like 184,000 hours or something like that. So it was in the top 1% of listeners. Made me feel pretty cool. Like I listen to a lot of stuff. I mean, if you got a band and you want me to listen to it, I will. Because I walk 8 miles a day from my job. No, it's serious. Like people will, like send us a band and be like, hey, I'm in a band and it'd be really cool to play together. And they send me something. I will listen to it. I might not respond right away or not listen to it right away, but I'll listen to it. I do that, and I'm excited to do that. You know, like I search new bands. I have 5 new bands on my Spotify right now that I found in an article that I was reading this morning that I'll listen to the next time I go to work because I want new music in my life. But
Yeah,
yeah,
of
I mean,
course.
just being able to soak up all that stuff was nice. But yes, methodical is how I feel about music. You know what I mean? Like because I had such opportunity to be so analytical, that's where the organization comes from, you know. But
so how do we have to imagine that songwriting process? Were you writing parts that you later thought, okay, this could work with this one and that could work with that one? Or did you sit down and think like, okay, I want to do a song like this, and then worked on that one song for as long as it took?
honestly, this kind of answers a question I know you're going to ask in a little bit because I read your questions. But Strange Music was the only song that I wrote almost the entire time I was writing Distractions. I almost kind of nicknamed it Distractions. Like it was the distraction of distractions because that was the song that I kept coming back to. But other than that, they're not in order in the way that I put them. They're not on the record in the order I wrote them in, but I did write one song at a time. You know, What a Funny Girl You Used to Be was the first song I wrote. This Happy Madness was the second song I wrote. And as far as like, how did it start or how did I work on it? Really, it was just, you know, I would listen to music and get inspired, whether it be, you know, other grind bands or other metal bands. You know, I also listen to a lot of electronic music. I love bluegrass music. Billy Strings is a huge influence to me. Django Reinhardt and gypsy jazz, you know, that type of stuff. I played upright jazz in a swing jazz band for many years during the hiatus. But yeah, I mean, all those different influences, and like I would save stuff on Spotify, and then I would like go back and listen and be like, okay, I want to do. So, for example, like you've listened to the record, right?
I did.
Okay, so the song "What a Funny Girl You Used to Be."
Yeah.
Like I knew that I wanted that. The song started with that ring out, and that was just like an idea I had. Actually, I mean, it was just, I don't know, as simple as it is. You know, I was like, I want this like long ring out of blasts and a quick stop, and then it just comes in slow and sludgy, you know, and that's like how I just had that idea, and then I just implemented stuff, you know, like I was listening to Sepultura, and you know that opening riff kind of was a spark from War for Territory.
Yeah.
You know, they have that dun 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 dun.
Yeah, I know.
I was listening to that and I was just like, man, this is a killer groove. And I know 7,000 bands have taken that same riff and done the same, but who cares? It's open one, you know, like that fretboard stuff. But yeah, so I mean, that's just like, it just kind of, it starts with an idea. I'll have like a mechanic in mind, you know, like I'll have a box to check when I'm making a song, you know, or like going into a song, I'll have 6 ideas, and it's going to be like, okay, I have this weird like scaly thing that I was working on, but I also have this weird like drum pattern that I had recorded, you know, like the end of this Happy Madness, that kind of 6/8 feel thing. That drum pattern I had written for so long. I sat on that for years, actually. That was a drum pattern. I went back to some previous recordings and stuff and pulled that bad dad out of my hat. But I was just like, you know, it's just, I don't know, man. Like every song is so vastly different, and too many things happen in the course of 2 years when you're writing a record, like the process that I did, you know, because it's not like I was writing intervals again, where I didn't have a job, you know, like when I was in Scenics Tuesday in my 20s, that was my job. It either was home writing or I was touring. And I made a living doing that, not a good living, but it was fucking awesome. So I'm not gonna complain
At the
about it.
time, the best of lives, right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't exchange that for the world. No way. It was the best experience.
When listening to the record, there are obviously, just like you said, so many influences. I've heard people call this deathcore, like mathcore, blackened hardcore, grindcore. I mean, like, first of all, it all comes back to hardcore, right? Sure. In some way, it's always hardcore.
Core.
Exactly. Because it's never black metal or death metal. It's always core.
Yeah, it's got to have a sentence nowadays. Weirdly enough, in America, if you call it hardcore, it's very specific. Like if no one calls us hardcore in the States. Nobody.
Yeah.
Because here, hardcore is, knock loose. That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Even though they're, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, obviously. Bane reunion, yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad.
But
they're hardcore.
Is there any description or like label where you say like, okay, that in some way fits our band? Or do you just simply say like
that we prefer?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, I personally am a huge grindcore fan. Like to the core, like that's the bulk of what I listen to. Like if you were to flip through my catalog of music, 53% of my music is grindcore. Everything else I listen to falls into like that 47%, right?
Yeah.
So inherently, I want to say that we're a grindcore band, but I know we're not because we don't sound like a grindcore band. And grindcore is one of those weird genres where it's like if you're not that specific type of grindcore, you're a false grindcore. I think that Sawtooth Grin has a grindcore sound, like an influence. It's a modern grindcore, but
it is.
It's weird because I listen to Rotten Sound. Obviously, they got a record coming out too, and they're fucking insane. They're one of my favorite bands. Obviously, they're grindcore. No question about it, right?
No question.
But I say that in a lot of interviews as people ask a similar question. It's like, yeah, See You Next Tuesday is probably about 51% grindcore. So if we're trying to win a custody battle here between all the other genres and grindcore, I feel like grindcore is the one that would win the custody battle by 1%. That's about it.
Yeah.
But with that said, extreme metal is fine. Or experimental metal.
But then again, we're at the point where you're like, is this metal? And I know a lot of metal fans, especially here in Europe, would say like, nah, that ain't metal. It's not black. It's not death. It's not doom. Yada, yada, yada. But I like the way that you're thinking.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like it would need the core title to really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what would you call us? One genre. Don't give me a paragraph.
I know what you mean.
Mathy, hardcore, black.
No. I would take grindcore because I think if we split up this is true grindcore and blah, 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 if we take that away and remember that genres change and influences come in, and hardcore is not what it was 43 years ago. It's not Bad Religion. It's not Circle Jerks.
2023. Yeah,
exactly. Right. So, and of course, a band like Stick to Your Guns 40 years ago would not have been considered hardcore, but in a certain way, they epitomize what hardcore can be in 2023. Also, like Sunflower, like Calistow Boys.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also like bands like Gospel or City of Caterpillar. And they're all completely different, but they're all hardcore. And with grindcore maybe being the most extreme form of hardcore, and I'm leaving out stuff like porn grind and cyber grind and all that stuff, blah, 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 yada, yada.
Yeah.
But when we think about a genre evolving and allowing influences in from the outside, then your new record is definitely grindcore. And that leads me basically to another question, because when we listen to your record, which I really, really like, by the way. We listen to a band that does grindcore, but you also hear loads of other stuff, which is very cool. You know,
that's what I was saying. I was kind of keeping the pie chart. You know, I try to keep like the grindcore to 51%.
Yeah. When you listen to it, it struck me, and I was asking myself, like, how can they do this live?
We do.
Okay.
Currently we play 4 songs live. We do all 3 of the singles live, and we are doing This Happy Madness live currently. We're a 4-piece, you know, so some of the dual guitar stuff that you do hear in the record do get sacrificed. But our live situation, I do run stereo guitars. We have guitar cabs on both sides, bass cabs on both sides, so it's just loads of fucking loud. I do have a sampler and a synth that I do take with me as well. So a lot of like the sampling and stuff, the How Insensitive track, where I do a version of that live. I actually put that into my modular synth and create my own version of that for live, but I use all those voices. So yeah, I mean, overall, there are some videos if you want to check our YouTube. Just see Next Tuesday Grind. For those that are listening, we just kind of got a handle on our YouTube, so it's really small. We only got like 600 followers right now, but we put a lot of content. That needs to change. Yeah, thank you. We put a lot of content out there. I did a bunch of playthrough videos and stuff, which are just a ton of fun. We're just like, we're sitting around here like just biting our nails, waiting to release this record. And the biggest thing is we wanted to have a grasp on vinyl. If you're wondering why it took so long, it's because we wanted the vinyl to be ready. We didn't want to release a record and then like 8 years later people get records. We're fine sitting in the background. We're fucking patient. I'm not, but I made myself. Yeah. So yeah, does that answer your question? It does. What also is striking is the difference in song track lengths, you know, with the final track, Strange Music, where, if I remember correctly, we're a little over 7 minutes. But then there are also 2 short fuse bombs, Glad I'm Unhappy and Call Me Irresponsible, which tick in below a minute and not even close to it, if I remember correctly. Yeah, like 35 seconds. Exactly. Seconds, you know, that reminded me a little bit of like classic hardcore or classic grindcore. How much fun was it to come up with that kind of stuff? Actually, it was a ton of fun, and I'll be totally honest with you. Those 2 songs were some of the last to get done, and I wrote those 2 songs in about the span of 2 weeks, which is insanely fast for me. I had a big inspiration from Jane Doe's Phoenix in Flames. The distorted drums and Jacob Bannon just screaming, right? Yeah. And that's where Glad Unhappy came from. I was just I was listening to Jane Doe one day and I was like, man, it's just so goddamn killer. And I kept hemming and hawing because there's like some electronic stuff all throughout the record, right? Yeah, it is. And I wanted to do, like you said, a nod to the classics and have a couple shorties to the classic grindcore, I should say. You know, that's why it's just blast mayhem for 30 seconds. But I wanted it to be fucking weird if I was going to do that, you know, because why wouldn't I? So yeah, like that song. So I took the drums for Glad to Be Unhappy, right? So I created the drum track and I split it 50-50. One side went to a delayed track and the other went to a distortion track. And that kind of synthy effect, that beep whoop that you hear, that's actually me hand pitching the frequency of the distortion the drums are running it through. And then I wrote a synth bass line that kind of just did the crescendo, and then it just gets to wobbly nothing. And then obviously we play a little bit of guitar at the end. So that's one that we're going to incorporate into our live set. So it'll be really fun. There's literally like 6/8 notes at the end where we play together. And it'll be really rad. So Yeah, it was incredibly fun to just fuck around with Ableton because I used Ableton Live.
Hmm.
I originally got into recording and stuff by creating electronic music when
Hmm.
I worked at a guitar center for years, and I got into studio and just the playing around with synthesis, adding two signals together and making weird sounds and stuff. It's just so incredibly fun. If anybody is interested, go do it. Just take the leap. It's a blast. But yeah, and then same with Call Me Irresponsible, the other short boy. Similar thing, I wrote the drums, and then what I did is I MIDI mapped those drums. So each hit of the drum gave me a new MIDI track.
Hmm.
And then instead of like, I would just replace the snare with a sound.
Hmm.
So like I took a lot of like scratching sounds, distortion sounds. Like I'd do stuff on my synth that are just like buzzes and pops and stuff. And I would put little short samples in on those MIDI hits so they would synchronize with all that
Hmm.
chaotic blasting. That's what you're hearing in that song. So both of them are just drums triggering synthesizers, and it was a blast to
Yeah, but
make.
they are also placed very nicely within the record, where like, although they basically should, although it basically should feel as if they're taking all the breath out of you, they in fact, at least for me, they do the complete opposite,
Let you
they
take a
are
breath.
like, okay, I cannot follow this anyway, so um you
Worry
also
about that song
indirect
when you listen to it the second time.
yeah. And you also already basically gave me the answer to the next question. So those two songs are, of course, easier to write than something like Strange Music, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say easier because those two ideas of the drum stuff, the
Mm-hmm.
distortion, frequency shifting, and then
Mm-hmm.
the MIDI mapping.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those ideas were things that came up over the 2 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I just had written them down in a note in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a month away from finishing the record, and I'm like, I was actually still working on Strange Music. That's the last thing I finished. There's
Mm-hmm.
actually 6 more minutes to that song because it went all electronic into this weird doomy industrial thing.
Oh,
And we're just like, I don't think it doesn't really go anywhere. It didn't go
yeah.
anywhere. And I kept trying to back it up and back it up and back it up. And then eventually I just left it at that segue there.
Mm-hmm.
That was meant to be a segue. It could be for more. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows? Um, but yeah, so I mean, those electronic meat songs are easy to write once you have the idea because
Yeah.
um, electronic music is so experimental. It's not like a guitar where it's like, okay, I'm in C sharp major and I want to, flat the seven to give it a little distress. And, like there's a rhyme or reason to guitar playing that I tried to push the boundaries for, but it's not the same as synthesis,
Mm-hmm.
like playing around with electronic music, you can literally like shit can just happen and you don't
Yeah.
expect it, and the outcome can either be total trash and just straight noise, or it could be something somehow that's musical enough to run with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like those high-pitched howls in Call Me Irresponsible,
Mm-hmm.
where like there's that break and there's just that big howl that kind of sounds like the vocalist of the body. As soon as I
Yeah.
recorded that, like I was making that sound, it reminded me of his voice. And I was like, oh, shit, that's fucking rad. I don't even know what triggered there and what effect it was running through, but I had it been recording because I would record and live fuck with stuff. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I
Yeah.
would record like large sections and then go back and be like, this part's cool. But that's the beauty of electronic music, is it's all
Mm-hmm.
about slicing. Like
Yeah.
I'm an MPC kind of guy. Like those
Mm-hmm.
old MPCs. Like I remember playing around with those as a kid, and like that's, you would load a sample onto 16 pads, slice it up, and you would make a beat out of like samples,
Yeah.
slicing. And
Yeah.
that's so yeah, it's experimentation versus like being
Mm-hmm.
methodical. Like Strange Music was so You know, it's weird to think how hard it is to write something so easy when you write a record that's so much going on. But
Yeah.
like, I feel like it is harder to fill space than it is to fill chaos. Because if chaos is going on, sometimes people can't even ingest it all. And as long as it's in extreme, it can be awesome. I mean, listen to some of the bands out right now. You know, like the guitar tones are so fucking filthy. Like one of my favorite bands, Last Days of Humanity, they're a Dutch gore grind band. I don't know if you're familiar. Just filthy. I couldn't tell you what they're doing on guitar for the most part, but it has a vibe, man, and I love it. And that's the thing, though, is like you listen to is like Amenra, right? One of my favorite. They're one of my favorite. You know, on that doomy, sludgy, slow stuff. You know, because they're such beautiful. There's so much beauty in their music. Even they're behind like this curtain of despair. You know what I mean? And that song "Children of the Eye," you know, it just starts off so soft, and that was I think you know, like it's just it's so hard to write something interesting when you're just ringing out one note.
Yeah.
You know, and I would come back to that song over the course of 2 years, and I had two sections of it written, like the B the bridge, you know. That section was written. There was like two parts on the. When I opened it up on my computer, I had the beginning and the end, and then I had that like acoustic stuff or the clean guitar stuff for the end. Those are three separate things, and eventually I just kept moving stuff around, and I was eventually like, okay, this goes into this. Sold. And that happened, that like in like that connection of parts happened like April of 2022. Like right at the end, you know what I mean? Like, so that song was incredibly challenging. But did you buy the record like on vinyl? Did you
I've ordered it.
Okay, you did. Well, maybe I don't want to spoil this for you. So I'm going to spoil it anyway because I haven't got to talk about it yet to anybody. Do you mind, or do you not?
No, just go on. We love nerd talk.
This is going to come out in April, so everyone else is going to get a chance to see this.
They should have bought it and they should have listened to it. Yes.
Yeah. So if this isn't coming out by then, okay. So when you get the record, side A says "Fast" on it, and it is tracks 1 through 12. And side B says slow, like right on the label, it says side B slow, and it is just track 13. That was my idea. I had that idea since like the dawn. Like I wasn't even finished with the second song. As soon as like I thought of a record, I was like, if I write another record, I'm gonna have to write a long song at the end because January On and Paganotrophy, it's kind of like my thing. You know, I felt in 15 years, if one thing was going to come back, I'm going to write a doom song because I fucking love doom metal, man. Like that slow shit just speaks to me. And yeah, it just clicked. I was like, man, record, like I got to write a song that's long enough on one side so I can have one slow ass song and a bunch of fast ass shit. So when you flip, you know, you get done with this fucking just avalanche of blast beats, and then you're like, fuck. And then if you listen at the end of track 12, it's my voice recording there. I say, how do you distract yourself from yourself?
Yeah.
Right? And that's how that side will end. And the next song is the answer, is Strange Music. That's how I distracted myself. So I answered my question, and that's where everybody, before you flip that record, I want everybody to think that. I want everyone to think how they're distracting themselves from doing stupid shit. You know, you need a hobby. Everybody needs something. You know?
Yeah, and for us, I guess that for most people who listen to our interviews, it's music because the interviews here are usually not like 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Nerd question. One of your tracks is called Day in the Life of a Fool. Being an old
Beatles.
Guy, I had like,
Beatles.
okay, is this your version of the Beatles, A Day in the Life? Or what I came up with today, is that your answer to Faith No More, King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime? Or is it just an old boy who thinks he has to connect everything with everything?
Here's the thing: is you're close. I'm not telling. This is one I'm not breaking on. Nope, you're close.
Okay.
Somebody out there is gonna connect the dots, because our song titles always mean something, you know. And obviously, the Parasite, everything was a nod to pop culture. Intervals we wrote as a band for the first time, you know, so we all had a collaboration in intervals and decided to be serious and we're adults. So we had actual song titles that matched the lyrics. This, again, I was writing these well before Fox even, you know, like I had over half the record written before he started doing vocals, which, you know, it's fine. Like, whatever, he could have waited to the end, but I wanted his input. It was important to me to have his input. So he started working with me on it and stuff, but he's a busy fucking dude. He owns a tattoo shop. You know what I mean? Like, busy fucking guy.
And you're a good customer, eh?
Yeah, he just actually done this
That's
guy
nice.
over here. Yeah.
That's nice.
Our bass player works at the same shop. He's also a tattoo artist. So they're really talented dudes. Anyway, I was answering a question. What were we talking about?
A day in the life of a fool.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to give it away, but you're close. There's something out there, but
so
moving on.
For everybody out there who can clue me up and tell me why I didn't see something as obvious as that.
Somebody is gonna connect the dots, and I hope this interview doesn't make it quicker than it should be. But...
If you find it out, please write it in the comments.
Yes, please do.
Something else that struck me over the course of the last, let's say, 12 months or so. There are so many iconic bands from who were successful shortly after the millennium who are making a comeback right now. So we have City of Caterpillar, Gospel, Glass Casket. Is there any idea why? I thought I was hearing my dog around here.
Oh, I was about to see a puppy. I love dogs. I got.
Yeah, we have a puppy, but she isn't in here, so I was wondering where I heard it.
You probably heard mine barking a little while ago. I left the door open just in case she wanted to come see him.
So, have you got any idea why?
I would have to say COVID, 100%. Not only did new bands spawn because of COVID, so many other bands. I mean, people were forced to sit at home or work their lives away, but ultimately, everybody went through the same shit. Everybody decided, you know, there's so many people out there that for the first time in their life went and sought therapy. There's so many people out there that looked at their lives in a different manner. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's people that came out of COVID in despair and are worse off too, you know, which is awful. I mean, that's the thing with COVID is it's just every single human being on this planet went through the same fucking shit simultaneously.
Yeah,
it was different for you because you lived on the other side of the world, but you were going through the same shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you either were at you, yeah, seriously. And I mean, you either worked through it and you wanted to die, or you were quarantined and you wanted to die. Not. I didn't mean that in like a suicidal sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But, you know, like,
but you felt like shit.
Yeah, I mean, people's mental health was at an all-time low.
Yeah,
it was weird
for sure.
Know? And I mean, look at some banging fucking bands that just appeared. You know, like 200 Stab Wounds is one that just, you know, they got together during COVID and started writing, and now they're like an up and coming death metal band. It's fucking brilliant. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that, you know, I think the dudes in Botch, and I think the dudes in City of Caterpillar, I think, you know, they just were doing the same thing. You know, maybe they were gigging, maybe they were working, who knows? But they were sitting at home and something struck and everybody had to find their distraction. I'm telling you, man, like, it's not just a clever name. Like, everybody had to find something to hold on to, some shred of humanity to pull out of that fucking shit. And we're still recovering. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it's
it's not over.
It's not like it's gonna be overnight or anything. But you know what? I still haven't drank. You know, and in let's see, it's 5:00 my time now. So, you know, just a few hours, midnight my time, my record, or the see you next Tuesday. this record is going to be live for everyone to start streaming. Everyone gets to hear the rest of it, and all the leaps that I made with those electronic songs and a long song and all that shit. You know?
Something else
Ooh,
that strikes
sorry.
me when I look at some promo shots of you. You said that you listen to so much stuff. It seems as if you're not the only one in the band, because I've seen shots of your band with one of you guys wearing a Portishead shirt, and another
So
one
so
with somebody sporting a Bone Thugs and Harmony shirt.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
question must
Rick,
be,
listen.
what are the bands that you can all agree on?
Oh, that we all agree on?
Yeah.
That's tough. Because here's the thing. Rick, our bass player, listens to 3 bands, right? Mariah Carey, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and Cannibal Corpse. That's it. Like there might be some stuff like the flavor of the week. I think he's got I think he likes Gate Creeper right now. I'm not sure, but you know what I mean. Like he turned me on to some stuff every once in a while. So it's not like that's all he listens to. But like if you were to be like, hey Rick, what do you listen to? It's those 3 bands. Fox is pretty exclusively electronic music.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really listen to a lot of heavy stuff anymore. So Portishead, you saw him wearing the shirt in the promo photos. Yeah. He listens to like Ghost. Him and I both really love Youth Code, a shitload. Mm-hmm. Pet Brick is another one that's pretty recent, author publisher. Him and I agree on that stuff. Actually, the most that him and I see eye to eye on musically is in the electronic field. Mm-hmm. And him and I were the two that did all the writing on the record and stuff. So I mean, him and I are the 2 collaborators, I should say. So really, weirdly enough, like those are the 2 connections. Though that's the music that him and I connected with, was electronic music, especially the Doomio stuff. Mm-hmm. Youth Code, Ghost, Author Punisher, that stuff's it's awesome, man. And again, talking back to me making synthesis, it's just amazing because like that's where there's originality to be made, because like I can plug in my synth. I got one of those stupid Euro racks with all the little cables and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I can plug that in and make a new sound that I've never heard before and that you've never heard before. It might not sound good or something to put into a song, but there's endless possibilities with manipulation of a single sign. So yeah, electronic music is banging. And then probably, your classics. We all love Cannibal Corpse. We all love fucking Slayer. We all love Pantera. Well, I don't think Fox likes Pantera anymore. I grew up listening to Pantera, so it's like, even with all the shit that Phil's getting, it is what it is. Great Southern Trendkill is still a banging record. All of us love Slipknot. Mm-hmm. Slipknot's always been one of my heaviest influences. Mm-hmm. Intervals and Parasite were both recorded with Nick Thompson, Rivera Knucklehead. Like his guitar tone through the years, I always appreciated that they always stood out sonically too. They didn't just rip at fucking playing music, but they never fell into that 5150 tube screamer sound. Yeah. If you listen to what's hot deathcore right now, 98 out of 100 bands will have a 5150 recorded on the record because it's the easiest thing to mix, and they sound great, but you gotta step out of the box, man. So Slipknot is huge for us. Tool's another one that we all unanimously like. Well, again, Rick's kind of iffy on that one. The only loner is Jimmy, our drummer, which granted he is the most recent addition to See Next Tuesday. He didn't join until just this past June. And he's a big country buff. He likes classic outlaw country. Like he just showed me that he ordered a Waylon Jennings shirt. So fucking hell of a drummer, man. He plays Distractions live. It's incredible.
Okay.
Learning that shit with him was a blast. Because I wrote all the patterns and stuff, so it was very easy for me to explain it to him. Yeah, he's a killer.
So one last question before we go to our infamous quickfire round. You can cover any song you like with See You Next Tuesday. Which song and why?
That's really, really tough. I actually have two. Is that okay? And there's a, well, it's two-part story. How's that sound? Okay, so for the longest time, I always wanted to do like a, not a cover, but like a remix, like a grindcore version of fucking Hostile. Because it's like it's a punk song and it's at its core, you know what I mean? Like it's obviously it's dialed up by Pantera, but ultimately it's a punk song, you know? And just throw some blast beats in that shit. So for years, when I was in See Next Tuesday years ago, like before Fox was even in the band, when we still had Bear, it was always something that I brought up, and I know how to play the song. Like, probably don't anymore, but I learned the solo and stuff, and learned how. Like, I broke it down and like taught everybody, but we just never fucking did it because no one wanted to play a song that was in 30 seconds or whatever. I don't know. Just never came to fruition, right? Right around the time, right before the hiatus. This is part two. This is the actual answer. I just wanted to get that other part out of the way. The actual answer is during right around the time of hiatus, before we went on hiatus, we just released Intervals. We got an offer to do like one of those cover compilations where like each band picks a song, and it was refused. Shape of Punk to Come.
Okay.
And New Noise was not taken, so we like had put in for it, and like some came up where like all these songs were taken but this song, and then like we broke up and like it never happened, so it is what it is. But recently we were talking about doing a cover, whether we will or not, but recently we had been talking about it, and I brought up that I always wanted to cover that Refused song, and Jimmy and Rick were very, very into the idea, and Fox is asleep, and I haven't had a chance to bring it up to him, but he'd be the one that would really make or break it because he's doing vocals, and you know, he would have to figure that one out.
That is also a difficult one to do.
Yeah, and it's a crushing tune, and we could do it straight as, and it would be in like a blast, and we could do it in a manic grindcore-esque fashion. Yeah, it could be really cool too. We could fuck it up too. Who knows? Either way, we'd have a good time doing it. So to answer your question, New Noise by Refused.
So the quickfire round. You always get two alternatives, like roses versus tulips, and you have to decide on one of them. And maybe give a short explanation why. We'll start off with something easy. City of Caterpillar versus Saitia. I still don't know how to pronounce her name. Saitia, you know what I mean.
Oh,
Saetiaa.
I'm gonna sound like an idiot. You're gonna have to send me that name because I have not heard them, so I would have to say City Caterpillar.
Okay.
But actually, can I do that? Can I have a second here? I'm gonna add that to my list right now. Can I do that? Spell that.
Saetia.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm following them right now. I'm going to listen to that one on Saturday. 100%. Thank you for that.
So let's go to something more recent. Sunflower versus Callous Dowel Boys.
Honestly, I have to go Callous Dowel Boys because I listen to a lot of aggressive stuff at work, not almost exclusively, but my drives and stuff are when I listen to not as hard hitting stuff, and their record just hits a little harder. And I love both of them. But I think the power level of Callous Dowel Boys is just more aggressive.
Let's go some more classic. Every Time I Die versus Pick Destroyer.
Oh, Pick Destroyer for sure. Oh my God, Problem in the Yard was a life changer for me. We played with them one time in Baltimore, and they definitely don't remember. But Scott Hall mastered Intervals. I don't know if you knew that. But that was like one thing that I was like, he's going to touch this record or I'm out of the band.
Converge versus Dillinger Escape Plan.
You're killing me because I'm covered in Converge tattoos. I'm fucking stupid. And Dillinger just doesn't have the same quality artwork that Converge does.
So it must be Converge.
Yeah, it's got to go Converge. Honestly, I'll be totally honest with you. When I was 14, I listened to Cold Chamber and Korn and Slipknot, Ozzy Osbourne, Pantera. And I heard Converge at a tattoo shop. My mom took me to a tattoo shop to get my ear pierced because I refused to get the fucking gun at JCPenney's and smell like a crow because I was hardcore. So we're Marilyn Manson shirts, damn it. And I walked in there. I shit you not, it was like a fucking TV show. I'm sorry, this is taking too long. I walked in and Saddest Day started playing right when I walked into this tattoo shop. And this 14-year-old boy just shits himself. So it's kind of
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about your home state. The Lions versus the Red Wings.
Oh, I don't care for sports, so neither. We'll say Red Wings because my wife likes the Red Wings.
Okay. Botch versus These Arms Are Snakes.
It's gotta be Botch. That one's pretty easy for me. That one, they're kind of like another one of those. Like I just recently I found them out in the same time frame as Dillinger and Coalesced and Daughters and stuff. When I first heard Converge, we drove to the record store in Flint, Michigan, and bought everything I could find with the Relapse label and. But yeah, fucking Botch is on tour. They're coming on tour. We just emailed our booking agent and said, I know this is not going to happen, but can you just put us in the hat? Just one show. I don't care where it is in the world. Just please.
I wish you the best of luck for that. Deep dish pizza or Italian style?
Deep dish. Here's the, oh man. So I have a pizza tattoo on my stomach, right? It just says pizza in Old English across me. You want to see it? Yeah. Sorry, I stepped on my headphone cable. So anyway, I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm releasing an album Eve, so we should celebrate. And it's a blizzard out right here in northern Michigan right now. It's super bad blizzard. Like she called off work. And it's like icy, mixy grossness. And I said to her, like, okay, then we're getting deep dish pizza for dinner. And she's like, oh yeah, it's album release Eve. You get whatever you want for dinner. Deep dish pizza. Detroit style, because I'm from Michigan.
As you were talking about your love for Slipknot, people equals shit or wade and bleed?
I have so many memories tied to both those songs, but
we all do.
Yeah. I don't know. I think as an angsty 16-year-old who took shrooms and cried about his girlfriend that broke up with him, Wait and Bleed has it by 1 point, because that one is just one of those that you drove around and screamed when you were singing. Honestly, if I had to pick, it would have been Eyeless. That was probably the one I screamed the most. But you remember being an angsty teenager and somebody.
No, I never was. Everybody who watches this.
Yeah. You 100% drove around and was like.
So we have two left. We have two left.
Go.
New York City or Chicago?
I'm not really a city boy. I've had really good experiences both places. I live relatively close to Chicago, so I go there more frequently. So we'll go Chicago. So I'm a 4-hour train ride, about 6-hour drive, give or take.
So you also mentioned that you like at the drive-in. So I'll give you in, casino, out, or relationship of command.
Well, it sounds like I'm not going to get cool points, but relationship for sure. Here's the thing: is MTV was a big influence to me. Growing up, MTV was still awesome. I'm 40 in a month, so yeah, right. So like you know, did you have MTV growing up?
Of course.
Yeah, right. It was a huge influence when when I saw this band that like I said earlier in the podcast, I've been listening for a while. When I saw them have a music video on MTV, I was like, holy fuck, this band like made it, man. This is awesome. Dude, I screamed that song. Yeah, that jam. And I remember because this was well before like Guitar Magazine and tabs on the internet and shit existed. That was the song that like I taught myself. I remember as a young buck, that was one I felt really good because it's hard.
It is.
Yeah. But I covered that song, One Arm Scissor, in a 90s cover band I was in for a minute.
Well, yeah, there are a few tracks on that record that are cover worthy, I would say.
Oh, for sure. And they're palatable to even people that don't know the band.
True.
You know what I mean? Like if you're at a bar and you heard someone throw on, if you heard somebody cover an At the Drive-In song, specifically something off Relationship.
Yeah.
It's palatable. I mean, you could sit there and enjoy it if you didn't know the song.
Definitely.
It's like fucking, yeah.
I totally agree with that. So, Drew, thanks for taking your time. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to everybody, if you haven't done so by now, as we're already in April with this interview, so if you haven't done so by now, please listen to See You Next Tuesday's new record, Distractions. Oh. It will distract you for a longer period of time, I can tell you. So, Drew, your chance for any final last words.
Oh, geez.
No. We don't do religion here.
Oh, I said geez.
Yeah, but it's just us.
No, I'm not gonna. No, not there. I'm not going there. No, I just wanted to say thank you to I said this recently in another podcast. I don't mean to be redundant if people watch me more than one time, but
that's their choice.
Yeah, I'm in a weird position putting out a record, right? And I put out, or not me. See Next Tuesday is in a weird position. Me, because I'm talking, but us as a band and me personally in my emotions, we're at a weird position. 15 years ago, 16 years ago, we put out Parasite, and Parasite was very well received. It was chaotic during a time of all these fucking great bands coming out pushing the bar in every single direction, right?
Yep.
Everybody was awesome. And music was so good. Not that it's not now, but I feel like it was good.
Differently good.
Yeah, differently good. Exactly. It was a time to be different. Then we rushed out and put out Intervals, and it was not as widely received. We took a drastic direction change from what most people thought of us. But, had they known that we've been playing those Parasite tunes for years, we were already sick of them. We had already been writing new shit, and it had already been heavier because I was listening to way more grind-esque stuff, like I was getting into heavier stuff. And that's just what happens when you stop listening to Number 12 Looks Like You and Converge and stop. Not that I stopped listening to them, but listened to them less and started listening to more just Regurgitate was one that was just like so good. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. What were we talking about?
Any kind of last words.
Oh yeah, my last words. Shit, man. Oh, so yeah, it wasn't as well received. And now 15 years later, we're putting out another record that's even in another direction, third record, third direction. It's terrifying. I just want to say it's absolutely terrifying, but I wanted to say thank you to everybody that has given us such a welcoming response. Like the amount of supporters from yesteryears and the amount of people that just heard about us. It's too much, man. Like it's overwhelming how amazing it is. So thank you. That's what I want to say.
So thanks for being on the show.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. And I'm really excited. Thank you for turning me on to a band. If there's anything else you want me to listen to, send it my way.
Well, if you want to know more bands to listen to, just visit our website and you'll get something fresh every day.
Hell yeah. I'm not following it.
So
thank you so much, brother.
Drew, have a good day. Bye-bye, my friend.
Hey, you too. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate this so much.